Nottingham Forest is the prime example of how football has changed drastically in recent years. What was accepted as the norm a decade ago is now not only failing to produce results, it's being avoided by most teams. Yes, Nuno, Espirito, Santos' boys, who, on the verge of a monumental Champions League qualification, have the second worst average possession rate in the entire Premier League. But what makes this Nottingham Forest side so successful? And what is at stake for them in the remaining 6 games until the end of the season? Let's find out. Nottingham Forest are on the verge of making history by qualifying for the Champions League for the first time since the rebranding in 1992. They are chasing something that could be described as the ultimate glory for what this Nottingham Forest side is capable of. But let's not forget that they've already made history. Always remembered as one of the most memorable underdogs, Nottingham Forest managed to win the European Cup not once, but twice. Unlike some of the English heavyweights like Arsenal, Spurs or Man City. And not just twice, the boys of the legendary Brian Clough did it in successive seasons, 1979 and 1980, beating the likes of Liverpool and Hamburg to cement their place among Europe's elite. Fast forward to today, and Forest are writing a new chapter. Currently third in the Premier League with 57 points, they're on the verge of returning to the tournament that made them one of the 4 most successful English teams in Europe. And the even more positive news for Nottingham Forest at the moment came last week when it was announced that England will have 5 teams in the Champions League next season, which gives Nottingham Forest extra motivation and certainty of qualification as they currently sit 5 points above 6th place Manchester City with 7 games to go. Of course, this will most likely have changed by the time this is uploaded, but Nottingham's chance of European qualification is very high. But the question remains, who was responsible for Forest's return to prominence? When Evangelos Marinakis took over the reins of Nottingham Forest in May 2017, he wasn't just buying a football club, he was buying a legacy. A legacy that had seen European glory under Brian Clough, but had since faded into the shadows of the lower leagues. Marinakis, a Greek shipping magnate with a passion for football, envisioned a revival. Yes, he eventually launched the mega project at the City ground, but you can be absolutely sure that when he took over in 2017, he could never have imagined that 8 years later, Nottingham Forest would be going all the way from the bottom of the Championship, having finished 21st in 2016-17, to 3rd in the Premier League after 31 match days through the course of the 2024-25 season. Absolute cinema. The secret of his success, however, has been his sheer audacity. So risky, in fact, that Forest could easily have fallen even further from where they started. He invested heavily in infrastructure, launching plans to redevelop the City ground and improve the club's training facilities. But it was the 2022 summer transfer window that truly signalled that a new era for Forest might be approaching. Following Forest's promotion to the Premier League for the first time in 23 years, the club made headlines by breaking one of the strangest Premier League records of all time, signing the most players in a single transfer window. Yes, most Forest supporters were happy with this approach because it showed that the owner was not afraid to make bold moves, which is a positive sign rather than a negative one. But in the end, wasn't it too much? I mean, the quantity was there, but what about the quality? Well, the answer is non-existent, to say the least. They either signed some big names who were way past their prime, like Champions League winner Keylor Navas and Man United Academy graduate Jesse Lingard, or some relatively young players from abroad, like 22-year-old Coventry man Jonathan Panzo, or Julian Biancone, whoever they might be. So yeah, probably won't surprise you that of those 21 transfers, only 7 players are still at the club. But like most football bosses who think ahead and know what they're doing, especially when they invest big, Marinakis was no exception. The Greek oligarch was well aware of the money he was spending, and that's why he paid the most for the footballers who had the highest chance of staying at the club the longest, aka the most talented of them. And that's why the 4 most expensive of those 21 players are still with the club, 2 of whom play a crucial role in Espirito Santos' side, creative star Morgan Gibbs-White and Liverpool graduate Nico Williams. And speaking of Forest playmaker, the club recently slapped an astronomical £100 million price tag on Gibbs-White after his brilliant form this season, which has seen him score 5 goals and assist 7 in the Prem throughout 2024-25. When Nottingham Forest won promotion to the Premier League under Steve Cooper, It felt just like a fairy tale. Cooper had revived a side that had been drowning in the Championship and led them to a triumphant return to the top flight. But the euphoria was short-lived. The months that followed exposed the weaknesses of a team that was inconsistent and lacked tactical consistency to fight with the big dogs. Recognising the need for experience at this level, the club turned to Nuno Espirito Santo, a manager with Premier League experience from his period at Wolverhampton and later Tottenham Hotspur. Yes, we all talk and look at Espirito Santo as a top professional who will, probably, do what Nottingham Forest fans thought unthinkable and qualify them for the Champions League. But it's fair to say that his initial impact has been modest, to say the least. Although there were glimpses of improvement, the transformation was not immediate. However, as a testament to his managerial talents, Nuno orchestrated a remarkable escape from relegation. After the first memorable but strange record Nottingham Forest broke under Evangelos Marinakis, when they brought 21 new players in one summer, it was time for another record. Forest survived the 2023-24 season with just 32 points, the lowest total for a team to avoid relegation in the whole Premier League history, a feat made all the more impressive by the fact that they were deducted 4 points for breaching financial regulations. The real metamorphosis came in pre-season, however. With time to instill his philosophy and a more strategic approach to recruitment, including quality players such as Nikola Milenkovic and Elliot Anderson, Forest now looked like a solid mid-table side, and indeed, everyone was expecting just that. Even on the official Premier League channel, Forest was seen as a team that could eventually consolidate their mid-table status. But time has shown that they are more than that. In a nutshell, Nuno Espirito Santos' tactical approach revolves around a 4-2-3-1 formation in attack, switching to a more pragmatic and balanced 3-4-2-1, especially when Nottingham need to close out games in their favour. This is something they've been one of the best at in the league this season, but more on that later. For now, the main focus of Nuno's game is the emphasis on quick transitions and organised defensive structures. This setup allows Forest to maintain a compact midfield, forcing opponents to play to the flanks and allowing for quick counter-attacks when possession is regained. And this is an area in which the pace of Anthony Elanga and Callum Hudson-Odoi works wonders for Forest. Now, as we stepped on this at the beginning of the video, yes, it is a fact that Nottingham Forest have the second lowest average possession rate in the whole league, currently on 39.6, but that hasn't stopped them from being one of the most effective teams in the Prem, a perfect example of how football has evolved in recent years. It underlines the effectiveness of Nuno's tactical approach, as Forest's defensive solidity has been a cornerstone of their success. They've conceded just 37 goals in 31 games, which puts them third in the league with an average of 1.2 goals per game conceded, tied with Crystal Palace. A significant contribution to this defensive prowess is goalkeeper Matz Sels, who has kept 13 clean sheets so far, leading the Premier League in this category. His performances have been instrumental in Forest's ability to grind out results, even when not dominating possession, and as you've already figured out, this season is historic for Nottingham in many metrics and statistics. And here we have another huge fact for you. If Forest's defensive form, and Sels in particular, continues on the same trajectory, we could see the first non-Big Six goalkeeper to win the Golden Glove. As crazy as it sounds, no goalkeeper from outside the traditional Big Six has ever won the Golden Glove in Prem history. There's also been a remarkable improvement in Forest's ability to defend set pieces, which has been one of their biggest weaknesses in recent seasons. The arrival of Serbian international Nikola Milenkovic has boosted their aerial defence and reduced the number of goals conceded from set pieces. In fact, Nottingham were the most prolific team in the Premier League in terms of clearing the ball, averaging nearly 30 times per game. And as you can tell, the duo of Milenkovic and Murillo is the foundation in that department. You all remember the Brazilian's clearance against Man United in the dying moments and his wild celebration afterwards. Another area of notable progress has been their ability to hold on to leads. This season, they've won 17 out of 21 games in which they scored first, an impressive 81% success rate. This is a marked improvement on last season, when they managed to hold on in just 9 of 19 instances. 47%. Now, it's that time for you to have your say, and I have two big questions for you. Firstly, what do you think is the ceiling for this Nottingham Forest side? And secondly, is this a one-season wonder for Nuno's boys? Or will they continue their strong run in the Premier League and eventually Champions League next season? Let us know in the comments down below. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you reached it this far in the video, it looks like you're enjoying our content. So please don't hesitate to push us up the YouTube algorithm. Thank you very much, and until next time.